Hello, my name is Stephanie, and welcome to the Power of Gratitude. Here at Revision Church Atlanta, we wanted to take the time to have a conversation about what we're so grateful for, and we're grateful that you're joining us. And we are glad to have our guests with us, Loren Reynolds, Armory Esdell, Belinda Barnes, and Michael Fye. Welcome to the Power of Gratitude. When we think about gratitude during this season, what are you grateful for?
I gotta be honest. I am truly grateful for gratefulness. And that's a power in itself because being coming out of so many things, anxiety, depression, different things like that, if I didn't have that strategy, I'd still be stuck in there. And so shifting my perspective and looking at just being thankful for what God has done is strengthen my relationship with others, strengthen my relationship with God. So just I'm grateful for gratefulness because it's brought so many other wonderful things into my life.
That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, and I would say I think God's just grace over my family and the season that we're in right now. So we were talking about perspective a little bit before this, and I think that sums it up well for me when I think about just all the stuff that's going on in the world right now and in the US and the Middle East, and just like, the last few years have just been giving us so much to be really anxious or nervous or worried about. But I guess shifting my perspective and mindset towards, we got a house, got warm showers, health, families, all good. So I'm just thankful and grateful for just God's grace right now, and things should be a lot worse than they are.
Yeah. Yes.
Grateful for His grace and His mercy, His healing power, restoration. I'm grateful for my church family.
Yes.
Also because during our time with my husband's stroke, I was hurt. I was in a negative space, just trying to figure out things, and just seeing the outpouring of help and people just coming to the aid, even if they didn't bring anything, just coming to pray with us, and just different visits. Our pastors, every one of them showed up, and I mean, the one came and gave communion. So to my husband while he was still on, and had a tube in his throat. So
Wow.
I'm just grateful for. I've learned to be grateful. Let me put it that way. I'm sorry that it took me this long to figure out. I think I'm grateful, but not to the extent that I needed to be.
Okay.
It was more, like we were talking before, it was more easier to be negative than to figure out what I should be grateful. Like, Sarah, I got a home. There's so many homeless people. Sniff food, I can feed myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Being with sickness. I'm pretty healthy.
Yeah.
My husband's going through it. And of course, I'm going through it with him.
Yeah.
But even in the midst of it, my sadness turned to gratefulness because of the output.
Yes.
Sure. And I kind of got to take y'all answer a little bit with the grace and mercy, because that's really all I could think of, like, as far as like what to be grateful for. Because I think, I won't say it's cliche to like be grateful for material things, because that's blessings. That's God's blessings and His provision over your life for sure. But when I think about grace and mercy, it's like when those things aren't there. Like, are you still going to be grateful? Like, does your gratefulness change when you don't have a house, you don't have your car, when your loved one does pass away? Like, are you still going to be grateful in that situation and in that season? And I think to experience and be grateful in those seasons, it 100% takes God's grace and mercy for sure.
Yes, for you to be able to even see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's more than material. It appears from what we're saying here, it's a mindset, it's a strategy, it's a way of doing life and seeing life.
Right.
And it can include some material things, but it's more of a perspective that you have about life, because sometimes we're up and other times we're down. What makes gratitude such a powerful tool in your life?
I would say, just piggybacking off of what you said, as far as when those things go away, do you still have that gratitude, that gratefulness? I think that's what makes it powerful, because it gets us through those seasons where things are hitting the fan and everything's bad. I think when we are able to rewire our brain and really focus on and relentlessly choose to just be positive, choose to see, you know what, this is okay because God's given me this opportunity to grow, or, this is okay because this is just a test. And once I get through this, I'm going to be better for it. It's really freeing, because then you're not feeling that anxiety and that emotional roller coaster when times get bad. Because, I think we've probably all been there when things do get bad. And when you get into that place where you're just like succumbing to those emotions, I mean, it could be just tough, you're just down. But when you're able to tap into that gratitude, it really frees you from all that burden.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's an action word.
Yeah.
Because when you're in an attitude of gratefulness, it brings on positivity. It uplifts your spirit.
Yes.
So that's the actions that I feel with that.
With gratitude. Yeah.
I feel like it's required for that relationship with God and for prayer. Like, let's think about Philippians 4:6. We always forget that with thanksgiving.
Yes.
You can fast, you can do all these things, but with thanksgiving, are you coming to him first and telling and like reminding yourself, because he know who he is. Are you reminding yourself who he is? Like, thank you, God, you have brought me here. You are matchless and amazing and wonderful for who you are. And you love me as your child, unworthy and undeserving. Like, it brings that power.
Yes.
And it's like, if we want to access that power, we got to have the gratefulness side too. Like, we've got to be reminded of where we've been, where he's brought us through.
Yes.
Because we're the ones who's got to remember where he's going to bring us into and what he's going to bring us through. And if we forget that, how do we expect to move forward? You forget who he is. It's like, is he big enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's big enough. Let me tell you why he's big enough.
Yes.
So there's so much power and gratitude is power in our God. And that's where we're able to access that with that gratitude. It's a key component.
Yes. So what does that gratitude do for us? What would you say it does for us?
It definitely keeps us in a positive space. To where we can keep going. Like, and I think it was some interview I was watching years ago, but I just always stuck with me. And I didn't think he didn't use the word gratefulness. He used the word happiness.
Okay.
Like, happiness is something to look forward to. So it's just like, when you're grateful, it's like, I'm grateful for all I have, but I'm also opening the space to where it's something to look forward to. Like, because I know what has come through being grateful. So I know I can expect bigger and better things.
Yes.
So it's necessary.
Yes. Anyone else? What is gratefulness? What has it done for you?
It saved my life. And I'll be honest, I had severe anxiety to the point where it was causing me medical issues. I was going to the hospital, going to the doctor, couldn't figure out why I was having these pains while I was dealing with this stuff. And I won't even get into my testimony, but I've been through some medical things that like could have taken me out. The anxiety was so bad. And my husband was the one who had to put it in perspective for me to remind me about that gratefulness. And I'm thinking, you think you're just going off on this list just to tell God the things that you're thankful for. And it's like, no, like that changes your serotonin levels and your happy hormones. And literally just reminding yourself of the good things shifts your physical. And it's like lowering blood pressure, lowering the acid in your stomach so you don't have like all these burns on your stomach, because that was one of the issues. I was getting ulcers and different things. And like stress and anxiety was exasperating medical issues that I have. And I remember my doctor telling me, she's like, well, you eat well, you exercise and stuff, but it's your stress level.
That was it.
And the gratefulness is what brought it down. And I'll be honest, in moments where I'd wake up and it was a weight on my chest, I could not get up because I was so anxious, anxious to the point where I just didn't want to live. And I literally would do that. And I do that to this day. I wake up and I just go on the list until I just can't anymore. Just keep going and going. And going. And then my brain starts going to these wild things of gratefulness and wild things that God has done for me. And it's just like, and all I could do is pray. And I'm sitting there crying, tears falling down my eyes. And they become from sad and scared tears to happy tears.
Yes.
And you're just like, God, you're so good. I don't deserve this.
Yes.
I really don't deserve it.
Yes.
And you just pour it in. And I'm going to tell you, saved my life because I had to be grateful, because if I wasn't going to be grateful, I would have to succumb to that.
Yes.
And so changed my life. And so even now when I wake up with anxiety, And the devil will throw stuff in your face that ain't even real. Like, you're just like, "Bro, this can't happen. This is not going to happen. Why am I so scared of this?" Because fear is not a God. But then I just pour out and I'm like, "God, you've woken me up every morning.
Yeah.
Everything that I went to sleep with is still with me."
Yes.
Like, I have a dog and I love him to death and he's my baby and I'm thankful for him. And when I get to say those kind of things, that makes me happy. I'm thankful for Charles. I'm thankful for my sister who's on the other side of the world, but I still got her. Like, you know what I mean? You think about those kind of things. It's easy to remember, like, she's not close. I'm sad. I miss her, and cry about that. I got her. I can talk to her. She's still here. That's exciting. And so, like, there's so much power in that. And like, practicing that is like been life-changing for me. Even to this day, I'm like, devil, you ain't gonna win.
What does it mean to practice gratitude, like in a real intangible way every day? What does it mean to practice gratitude?
I've had to take my practice of gratitude like quite literal. Like, so I have a blessings book. That's what I call it. I call it a blessings book because I came up with it when I was just in a super dark place, and I couldn't think of things to be grateful for. Like, I was trying to think of stuff to be grateful for, and I literally couldn't. And God reminded me, and it was a minuscule blessing to him. Like, it was easy for him to do, but to me, it meant the world at the time. So I'll never forget the first blessing that I wrote in my book. It was, I couldn't afford to go to DC, and I was working for a nonprofit, and they had something going on in DC, but I never been. I wanted to go, and I was like, God, like, and when I say I prayed the prayer at like 3:03. At 3:07, all I asked, I was just like, God, if you want me to go, you'll make a way. At 3:07, one of the volunteers called me and was like, yo, we're driving up there. Like, you need a ride? Like, yes, absolutely. Like, so yeah, that's my first blessing. I still go look back at it and laugh sometimes, but 3:07, 3:07, like, I got the phone call. So yeah, so I literally have a blessings book. So when I'm not feeling grateful, I have to go back and look at everything God's done for me. Like, and the book's probably 3-4 years old now. Like, I write multiple ones on the page, but yeah, like, I have to do that sometimes to remind myself of how good God has been and still is, and that I have so much to still be grateful for. So yeah, that helps me practice gratefulness on a basis for sure.
A blessing book. That's very good.
Yeah.
Number them in the morning.
Right.
Okay.
Going off of
Yeah. At least 10.
At least.
Add your toes, you could get 20.
Yep. And then you can use those same fingers over and over
That's
again.
right. That's right. Reminding yourself. And that's what gratitude does. It causes us to reflect and to remember. And we need that.
It's got to be a habit. It's got to be a habit every single day. Just like you as a child, you tied your shoelaces, so you know what to do when your shoelaces are undone.
Right.
You use gratitude consistently, so you know what to do when your life is undone.
Right.
Yes,
You know, and it's about it's about regularly doing it, but especially in the waiting period. I know we were talking about that a little bit, and I was sharing a little bit about what we've been praying for, and we're in the waiting period for a lot of things for God, and it's been a long time. It's been years that we're waiting. And I'll just share, we're trying to get pregnant. We've been waiting and waiting for that. And there's a couple of other things we've been praying for years and waiting for, and reminding ourselves in the waiting period what God has done for us already is what will bring that joy, which brings the ability to have faith in God for what he's going to do, because we've seen what he's already done. So that practicing, like, builds our gratefulness and builds our joy, builds our faith. And we need the faith to have connection with God. We cannot have a relationship with Jesus unless we have faith.
Yes.
And so everything we're supposed to be doing, the tests and trials God puts us through, is to help us build faith. And practicing that gratefulness helps us to build our faith. And it's building upon the foundation that we have with God. And especially that habit of it in the wait is for me. The practicing it in the waiting period, in the hallway as I'm waiting those doors to come open. Thank you, God, because before I got to the waiting period, you brought me to Georgia. You brought me here. You brought me into a new space in my life. You brought me to this, that, and the third in the wait. So that I'm like, whatever door opens, I'm ready for, because I know where you've brought me from. And I'm practicing that. I'm telling myself over and over again, every finger writing it down, reminding myself that practice got to be a habit because we talked about this. We can have a habit of negativity on the left and the right. We could pick out the bad left and right. And so that's become a habit for us. So the only way you can break a bad habit is to build a good one.
Yes.
So you're building that habit through practicing gratefulness so that the habit now is the positive. So when you look at things, the first thing you see is the good in that thing instead of the bad in that thing.
Yes. In a real and tangible way. What's a time in your life that you can recall where you accessed gratitude and it just shifted the atmosphere? It just changed everything. You know, you were thinking and going down one path and you were maybe heading towards the negative thing, but when you began to ignite that practice of gratitude, it just changed the whole trajectory of the situation. Does any particular time come to mind?
Well, as I've spoken before, my husband's through.
Okay.
Being down in Brady Hospital, day in, day out, all day long. It was hard.
Yeah.
But as people came and, you know, even if they couldn't even get in to see him, they'd meet us in the waiting area, praying with us, talking with us, sharing. People fed us. And it was a blessing. And that's what changed my trajectory. Because I was really, you know, my husband he was out. And we were just sitting there watching, you know, tubing and
You didn't know?
standing. Just not knowing. Then you have people come in, you know, the PA would come in and talk and, you know, she give you the negative side of it. But there was a blessing. And I'm going to say his name, Quinn Taylor.
Okay.
He was on call. No, he was a respite there. He came into the room and found out that Jack was there. And he came in there and prayed with us.
Yes.
And, you know, he told us, you know, he had some things to say, but then he ended it on a positive note.
Wow.
And that made a big difference for me. I was just, like I said before, the outpouring. Because I've never had something like this, you know, happen to me. I've lost family members, but, you know, I'm in tune with that.
Yeah.
But not for my husband.
No.
I wasn't.
No.
So, but with all of the positive, it makes a difference when people come around and they're being positive and they give you a better outlook and a framework of what it makes a big difference to me. And that gratitude. I could sit there and watch him. And, you know, I'm going about my day. I'm doing treasury work at hospital. I'm just, you know, I'm just doing what I do. But initially, it was so negative. I was so, oh my God. You know, when I got that call, well, when I made the call, because I kept calling him. He had a bad headache. I kept calling. He wasn't answering. Then the paramedic answered. And he said, we're here with your husband. He's been in an accident. So I thought initially that it was just a car accident.
Okay.
He ran into a pole, ran into a tree. No injuries from any of that.
Wow. Wow.
It was just from the stroke. He had a brain bleed.
Uh-huh.
And that was the head. Nobody else was involved in the accident. I mean, it's a blessing.
Yes.
I had to look at it that way.
Yes.
I was grateful. I was so grateful for that.
Uh-huh.
And Jack had just taken his insurance off because he paid the truck off. So he only had the
liability, just the bare essentials.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, and even at that, this guy that Jeffrey works with works on automobiles. So he's repairing Jack's truck.
Wow.
Only Lord. That was it. Framework. Not that he said he had to replace the tires, replace the window. Because paramedics had to break the window. But I'm getting off. I'm just saying how grateful I am for everything. I'm grateful the paramedic answered the phone.
Yeah. I mean, I'm watching how you are dealing with the situation and you're seeing the good. You said no one else was injured. He was in an accident, hit a pole, but he had no injury. The paramedic answered the phone. It's like a mind and a heart towards gratitude can take the most challenging of situations and you're still pulling the goodness out of it. And I mean, that's helped you all to bear this. Wow. Wow. It's a powerful tool. Ah, good. Good. You know, in our lives, we have people that it seems like gratitude comes natural for them. I want you all to think about someone in your life that just naturally exudes gratitude on a consistent basis. Just tell me who comes to mind when I said it, who popped to the forefront of your mind? I want to know.
My mom.
Your mom. I knew mom was going to come out. Tell us about your mom.
She's just incredibly like her perspective on anything is always how is God moving and just looking at the silver linings. Even from a young age, we always saw that in her. You know, she had a ton of challenges growing up. Even when we were growing up, it's like difficulties and things that, you know, going back to what we said about if you could get yourself thinking about that all the time, you know, it gets you in a dark place. For her, I mean, would always be up, lively, joyous, giving to people too, and always out there and just like happy. And you would kind of think to yourself like, man, like, you know, why is she so happy when like this stuff is going on? But she would always just kind of just have that, you know, disposition, I guess, to default towards just being grateful, you know, and just looking at, look, I got health, I got life, I got kids, you know.
But you know, Amory, it's something about that. You said she had challenges growing up. She had challenges when you all were growing up. It just looks like at some point in her life, she decided that she was going to be grateful.
Yeah.
And that it would serve her better and her family.
Yeah.
And I think it may have been the challenges that said, hey, I got to make a decision. You know, I'm going to go down that rabbit hole or I'm going to live the best life that I can live. Yeah. You all tell me the rest of it. Who is it that comes to your mind, where you say, oh my goodness, it's like they were born, you know, grateful.
Charles, my husband.
Okay.
He's my gratefulness coach. I know I said it to the point where it would annoy me sometimes. I'm like, can't you just let me vent? And he's like, no, because you're going to stay there. So you've vented enough. Now let's shift this.
Okay.
He does it every single time. And like he practices in his daily life because that's the first thing that comes in his forefront. And he's done his own little research. He's like, sometimes women can, you know, research shows that they resort to negativity more so than men do. It's so like that called hormones. Right. He's like, so don't worry, like I got you. I'm gonna shift it for you or whatever. And every time I'm like crying because you know PMS that month and everything's falling apart.
It's real.
Falling apart. And he's like, oh, he'll hold me, wipe my tears. And he's like, okay, now let's be positive. Like, fine. He's like, you just gave me 20 negatives, but I'm only making you say 10 positives. And I'll say the 10 and he makes me do another 10. He's like, you got to match it. Like every time I say something negative, he's like, shift it. Every time I do that, he's like, shift it. What's the positive side of that? And it's helped me so much. It's been, I hated it for so long, but like I've come to this place now that I appreciate gratefulness so much and I'm so passionate about it because he's instilled that in me. So that's my gratefulness coach.
Your gratefulness coach. I love it. I love it. Who comes to your mind?
I would definitely have to say my aunt. Like growing up, I saw that this lady don't care about nothing. Like that's just what I thought. I used to think while dealing, I was like, this lady really don't care about nothing. But the older I got and the more I would sit down and really talk to her, it was just she was always at a place or in a place of I have everything I need.
Come on.
And if I don't have it, I'm not supposed to. Like or not right now. Yeah. So and she was okay in that piece of that and still is to this day at all times. Like even if I'm going over her house to visit her or bring her some food, I have to make her get some food. She's like, oh, I got something in there. I can eat some. What you about to eat, auntie? A salad and some peanuts. Like, it's like, I'm finna go get some pasta, auntie. Like, you want to eat. And then I eventually talk her into it. But it's just like, she doesn't really express a want or a negative emotion about anything in her life. Like, her sister died. Her first response, like, I'm boo-hooing crying. Because this is my grandmother. So I'm boo-hooing crying. She just, like, and turned just with a and was like, it's okay. Like she was okay with it. Like she's just always at peace. Like, and like I said, I never understood it younger. But yeah, it's gratefulness. She chose gratefulness. Wow.
Just really seeing what you have. I was thinking about what you said, your aunt, oh, I'm good, I got this. She's found contentment with what she already has. And so with that gratefulness, it just takes it to another level. Let's share with each other when it was a challenging time to access gratitude for you. Think of one particular time where you knew gratitude was the best way, but it was just challenging for you to access it or to practice it. And maybe what you did to get out of that space so you could.
I'll say the first time it was my brother's, the mother of his kids. So I was helping him out. Really, I didn't have, to be honest, I didn't have too much going on in my life. I had just left college. I tried to go move to Huntsville for a few months. That's lasted like 2 months. Came home, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do in my life. So I was babysitting his kids while she was at work and stuff. So I forgot what I was doing or complaining about. I really couldn't tell you. But she just came in the room because I wasn't even talking to her. She came in the room and was like, do you know you're a negative person? And no one has ever said that to me in my life. So it really rocked my world. It was like, what do you mean? Like, so she literally, she put me onto a documentary. It may or may not still be on Netflix, but it was called The Secret. So at the time, like and it was like taking the quantum physics approach about, you know what I'm saying? Manifesting positiveness and positive things in your life and being grateful. Like the last like 30 minutes of the documentary, it's about gratefulness. Like you have to be in a mindset of gratefulness to receive more. And I never had heard this perspective because maybe I grew up around negativity. So no one had ever checked me on it. And I never heard that perspective I did in the documentary. So like coming out and watching it, like afterwards, God just kind of gave me a whole new perspective of everything I should be grateful for. Because ultimately, looking back at it, I was fine. I was just mentally hurt. You know what I'm saying? My feelings were hurt about what was going on in my life, but nothing was wrong. Like I just had to do my due diligence and figure things out. So God took my mindset and really put me in a place of, okay, how are we going to figure this out? And me and God got together and we worked it out. And that's when I first started my hand in entrepreneurship, and I'm still an entrepreneur to this day. So yeah, that was a time like it was hard. It was very hard. Called you out. Oh yeah.
But it gave you awareness.
Exactly. Yeah, that I never had.
Wow.
Never had.
Great.
I'll say, a low point, and we all had a lot of low points.
Right.
But I've had a lot of low points.
Okay.
But one was when we first moved here. There was a whole lot of mess, and the place we were supposed to stay was in deplorable condition. It was kind of dangerous, and I refused to move in. And I told Charles, I was like, "What are we going to do?" We were living in and out of hotels for a week for the whole week. And our stuff the movers were coming down. We're like, what are we going to do? Like, we have nowhere to live. Like every day we thought we were going to be in another place. So we checked out. So we're sleeping in our car during the day, nowhere to be. We stopped at McAllister's to get some food. And I was like, God, it's been a whole week. Like, this is terrible. Like we felt like you moved us down here. Like, what is up? What are you going to do? So I'm breaking down in a McAllister's bathroom, just crying, like looking in the mirror, crying, and like, God, I reminded me when you were saying just pouring into myself, but just crying. I had nothing left to give. And it's just like, God, like, what are we going to do? And so in that moment, I prayed, I said, God, please take care of us. Like, help us to have a place, work it out. Come out the bathroom, wipe away the tears, and want Charles to see him. We go on our way. And long story short, that day we were praying and God pointed us to where we need to go for this leasing office to get a new place to live. Long story short, we visited this place. We got a new place to live.
Wow.
An actual wonderful place to live, and so many testimonies with that. And in that process, like before we got there in the car, I'm like, first I was like upset. And in the car, God reminded me, like, you know that house that you just left that you loved so much that, somebody else closed on it and you didn't get it? And for a whole month, you were praising me because you knew I had something for you. I'm going to take care of you.
Yes.
why is that different from now?
Right.
So I started being grateful. I'm like, God, thank you for this, where we've been. Thank you for getting us down here safely. Thank you for this new transition. Thank you for telling us where you want us to be. And I'm going on and on and on. And I started talking out loud because Charles was playing music and I couldn't hear myself think. So he's like, what are you doing? I was being grateful. I was pouring gratefulness, and I was like, "Babe, we gotta be grateful. God's brought us through this. He's done this. He's gonna do this." And then I kept saying what he's gonna do. So it started riling him up and getting him excited. In that day, we had a place.
Wow.
In that day, God had worked out. It was the wildest thing how He worked it out, because it was crazy. Like, it wasn't supposed to work out that way. It was a Friday, y'all. Ain't nobody
Friday.
Nobody Sunday.
No.
They're not giving you the keys on a Sunday. The man was like, make sure that those people have the keys on Sunday morning. And we moved in on Sunday morning. God worked that out. And it was all like, from me being all discouraged to me yelling out the gratefulness and praising out, and then Charles doing it with me. So that was a powerful moment, because I was breaking down in that McAllister. And do you know, come to find out that McAllister is in the same town that we moved to. Had no idea, because I didn't know where I was in Georgia when we drove all over the place. You like all over.
That's where I broke down.
And every time I see that McAllister's, it reminds me of what God brought me through. And He put it right in my town. So we drive past it every time we go to the supermarket, every time we go to Target, every time we leave the house, we pass that McAllister's. And it reminds me of the testimony, like, of what God did.
Wow. We're talking about finding it difficult to access gratitude, and then finally finding it and what it does for you. Does anything come to your mind? Anybody else? What comes to your mind about a time?
I mean, for me, what's coming to mind is a job I prayed for, like, a lot. Like, when you just like, you're praying for it. You think this is a perfect fit for my career, something I'm interested in, my skills, and you get into it. And then it's just like the enemy has a funny way of turning it. Like, as if like, man, like, what's that like paying? This what I really want. And so I remember last year, it just came to a head where, it's just this difficult, kind of similar to a little bit what you were talking about. I was just in a period of this high stress, anxiety, to the point where it's affecting my body. Just, can't sleep, shakes, just constantly just thinking about, am I good enough, or do I belong in these rooms? Or are you looking at the people around you, constantly comparing yourself to them and how they grew up to how you grew up, and that just took a toll on me to the point where it was affecting my work. And then that was just happening for a while, and then something just came to me when I was preparing for this big presentation I had coming up, and I was like sick about it.
Literally sick.
Just sick about it. And then God just kind of reminded me, like, yo, you prayed for this. This is something, like, go back to that time when you were thinking about it, about how good it's going to be, how excited it is. Think about the work. Like, forget about all this stuff you're thinking about, the comparison, or am I going to do well? Like, know that I'm beside you. I brought you to this. I'm working with you in this job, going before you, ordering your steps, showing you favor.
Yes.
And that, before that event, just like changed my whole like trajectory of that job, my whole mindset about it. Because I just got back to thinking, I mean, man, just stop thinking negatively. Think positively about what brought you here and what you originally prayed for, and lean into it. Know that
so you didn't get a new job. It was the same job.
Yeah, same job.
It was just gratitude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
Just thinking, trying to change that mindset, rewire your brain to think, man, this is an opportunity.
Yeah, and making the most of it. Well, I'm telling you, this has just been a powerful conversation about how gratitude changes everything. It's changed your life. It's changed your mindset. And I'm sure that people that you've been around can testify about where you were and where you are now. And so I want to thank you all for taking the time to share the power of gratitude in your life. And I'm sure everyone who watches will be transformed by your gratitude. And we hope that you experience gratitude during this season of Thanksgiving.